ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's your boy Ernie, the Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Before we get into today's video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my videos. And also, hook a brother up by hitting that like button because it really helps me on the algorithm and gets this video in front of way more people. Like, I'll put it like this. If every person who typically watches these videos, usually these videos get like a couple, maybe 2, 3, maybe 4,000 likes. If every person who watched this video hit that like button, this video would probably have dozens of thousands of views. So yeah, hook a brother up, trust me, it helps out tremendously. Let's get into the video. We're gonna be talking about Absolute Wonder Woman #2. This issue, while there's nothing really, at least to my understanding, like, oh my god, earth-shattering, changing the game forever, is not so much in a bombastic way, it's more on a low-key way that I think actually is probably for the best. And it's something that kind of sets a new standard for Wonder Woman. Like, I actually said this on socials the other day that this is my Wonder Woman now. Like, I've officially thrown my hat into the ring for this version of Wonder Woman. This is the new tribal chief.
Acknowledge me.
I acknowledge her on every level, and yeah, she's just great. To get into it, the reason why I say this is more on the low-key side of things, and y'all know how I am, I don't generally care about the personal relationships, and when I say personal, I mean more like the romantic relationships of superheroes. I just don't care because I'm not invested. That's not what I come to the dance for, okay? I don't come to the dance because of, who is screwing who, okay? I could not care less, or maybe I could care less. But to me, it's not important. But here, Kelly was actually able to do something with what I feel is probably like the traditional relationship for Wonder Woman, and that is Diana and Steve Trevor. Well, initially I wondered what would come of Steve Trevor in this universe. It's supposed to be one of the darker universes in DC, and yet some light comes through every now and again. That said, that light being Steve Trevor. In this universe, when we're introduced to Steve Trevor, it's revealed that him and Diana are not meeting for the first time. As a matter of fact, this version of Steve Trevor had met Wonder Woman quite some time ago. It doesn't say exactly how long ago, it just says before. But Steve Trevor, no differently than he washed up on the shores of Paradise Isle in the Prime Earth continuity of DC Comics, here he washes up on the shores of the Wild Isle in Hell. Which, for those that don't know, the Wild Isle is basically the place where Wonder Woman and Cersei are living right now, and have been since Wonder Woman was a child. Now, in this particular instance, where under normal circumstances, Steve Trevor had basically crash landed and wound up on the shores of Paradise Isle, here, he has had what is effectively a near-death experience. While technically he is in hell, Cersei and Wonder Woman are both very quick to point out that he didn't actually die, but for whatever reason, he wound up there. I feel like death is about the only way you wind up in hell unless you went through a portal or some other such nonsense. But yeah, we're just gonna go with it. If Cersei and Diana say that he didn't die, we're just gonna say he didn't die. But I feel like Brother Man should have died. I'm just putting that out there. All of that aside, it's pretty much the exact same, meet cute. The location has been changed, and the serial numbers, while technically they're about maybe 4 or 5 numbers off, it's still about roughly the same meet cute at the end of the day. Wonder Woman sees Steve Trevor. This is the first man that she has ever encountered. She's, you can tell, very visibly smitten by him, or at the very least curious about him. They have some kind of relationship with one another, and you can tell that whatever it is, even by the time that we see Wonder Woman in the present day, whatever it is has not been fully sussed out yet. It may have been poked and prodded at, maybe explored a little bit, but it hasn't been fully cemented. Not yet, at least. Now, all that said, I think what's very interesting here is the fact that we just had Steve Trevor killed off in the Primers continuity, and we literally come to Absolute Universe and we see a Steve Trevor who had a, quotey fingers near-death experience, washes up on the Wild Isle in Hell, and that's how he meets Wonder Woman. I think it's kind of a nice little interesting turn of events, between two different realities. It's kind of funny how those things work out. But I think what the real tell here is, in the previous issue, we saw that Diana had a new lasso. And while it kind of appeared to function in the same capacity as the lasso of Hestia, otherwise known as the lasso of truth, this one is a whole other beast altogether. Now, I personally had wondered what the hell this thing was. Like, I knew it was a lasso. I know it's supposed to be a stand-in for that, but what exactly is it made of? Because it is not wreathed in gold light the way that the lasso of Hestia was wreathed in gold light. No, this is a lasso that is wreathed in red energy. So what does that mean? Well, as it turns out, this lasso's name is Nemesis. And the lasso is appropriately named because, as it is stated in this issue, this is a lasso that is made of the remains of what she refers to as the last basilisk. And for those that don't know what a basilisk is, it's usually a serpent or lizard-like creature that, depending on what myth or fandom or whatever you follow, either has a bite that can petrify people or a stare that can petrify people. Take your pick. In this case, I think we're more going with because this is Wonder Woman, Greek. I'm pretty sure we're going with the stare, but that's another story altogether. But getting back to it, not only is this made from the last basilisk, it's also made from the blood of Prometheus. And with Prometheus, I'm probably taking, and this is based on some things we learned from Diana about this lasso, pretty sure it's based on the fire that Prometheus stole from the gods. And we also know that it is blessed by Demeter, the goddess of agriculture and the earth. And I'm pretty sure that just kind of lends more credence to the fact that this is a lasso that is empowered by gods, which is kind of wild considering that Diana's supposed to be persona non grata among the gods. But that's another story altogether. I'm sure we'll learn more about maybe why this is the case or how it came to be later, but it's never really stated exactly how it was blessed by Demeter, but we'll get that, I'm sure, at some point. All of this comes together to form a lasso that does exactly what it is called, and that is to deal out justice. That is the ultimate meaning of Nemesis in the Greek sense. Also, the actual goddess Nemesis at that. Nemesis was the Greek goddess of vengeance and retribution, as well as the doling out of justice and delivering someone's rightful fate. In this particular instance, that's exactly what the lasso does. It seems to be able to burn through almost anything, at least as far as we can tell. We can see before Diana even reveals exactly what it's capable of, we see that at moments where it touches against the Harbinger's flesh, we can already see where it's burning him. Once she actually encircles him in the lasso and pulls it tight, we notice that this is where she reveals the other ability that it has. And that is something that's very similar to, if you are more familiar with the Marvel comic side of things and you don't normally mess with DC Comics. I would say, under normal circumstances, I would say this is very reminiscent of the Spectre, but on the Marvel comic side, I would say it's very reminiscent of the Ghost Rider's Pen and Stare. This lasso effectively burns you to basically the totality of the sins you have committed. The amount of lives you have taken, the amount of vices and terrible things that you have inflicted upon the world and innocent people. This effectively makes Diana the Ghost Rider of the DC Comics universe, or rather the absolute DC Comics universe, which is wild to me, but it's cool. But yeah, I will also say, yeah, as I stated earlier, the Spectre was also capable of doing this as well. It was just an ability that people who are considered spirits of vengeance tend to have. Both the Spectre in DC and Ghost Rider in Marvel, they're both spirits of vengeance. So it makes sense that in this universe, Diana, while not necessarily a spirit, she embodies the spirit of vengeance in the Absolute Universe. And the Absolute Universe is going to need her right now, because as even she states, there are dangers coming to the world that she's not going to be able to face alone. She actually even points out that she knows other heroes are coming. More like she's either already seen ahead, or she at least has an intuition that these other heroes are going to show up. Not to say whether she knows exactly who they are, but it seems pretty obvious she's aware, at the very least in some level, of the presence of the Absolute Batman and the Absolute Superman. And we also know there's other heroes on the way as well. We know that Flash, there's going to be, Martian Manhunter, there's going to be Green Lanterns on the way as well. So yeah, we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But she never names anyone specifically, but I did think that was pretty cool. There's a lot of nice little touches in here. I actually love how much Kelly is leaning very heavily on the Greek mythology here. Not to say other Wonder Woman comics don't. As a matter of fact, Wonder Woman comics, if they don't lean into Greek mythology, it would be kind of weird considering her heritage. But yeah, I like what she's doing with it. Like the fact that the Pegasus that we saw in the previous issue is not just a random Pegasus. It's the actual Pegasus of legend. It's just called Pegasus because it's not so much what it is, it's the thing that all other Pegasus are, I guess, sprung from, more or less. But also the very same Pegasus who has also died and is brought back with magic. I think that's actually really cool. Just how much everything is changing, but it's still staying the same in ways that make it new and fresh, but don't really mess anything up. Because as I said before, and I think I talked about this on someone else's video most likely, I would forgive anyone who is not as familiar with Wonder Woman, but like everything that makes Wonder Woman in the Prime Earth continuity, it's here in this continuity as well. Albeit, I feel like where Wonder Woman is normally the person who will step in, take charge, she's compassionate, and she, holds love in her heart for, all of humanity, even the people who she should be against. At the end of the day, she is going to be the person who's going to step in, she's going to take charge, and she is going to tell people how it is, whether they like it or not. I feel like this version of Wonder Woman does the exact same thing, only she's a little bit more brash about it, because yes, she's still Wonder Woman and all that entails. She is not a Wonder Woman who is gonna play patty cakes with your feelings. Not to say that Diana in Earth Prime, does that on any, major level. But I mean, she usually is gonna be a lot more polite about telling you that you have no power over her. This version of Wonder Woman is gonna look you dead ass in your eyes, stare you down, and tell you how you don't run shit around this motherfucker. And I think that's why I'm actually really like falling in love with this version of the character. So, but yeah, I love it. I love it. There's also some other stuff that's going on here, but I don't think it's quite it is a big deal because it's a giant ass monster, the Tetracide that is on the way, but it's a giant kaiju of a monster, and I'm pretty sure it's going to push Diana to her limits, considering that the Harbinger was it was light work, but it was still a tough fight for her until she busted that lasso out. But I feel like the Tetracide is going to present a unique problem for her, because I don't know how this works for the DC Comics universe or the Absolute Universe as a whole, but I know that in Marvel, when Ghost Rider would encounter people that weren't like sentient creatures, the Penance Stare doesn't really hold a whole lot of water. I wonder if that's going to be the case for the Nemesis. Could be, could not be. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.